The recklessness of the child-murdering, genocidal state of Israel knows no boundaries. In the past 24 hours, they carried out 2 targeted assassinations. One of them was with Hezbollah, Fuad Shukr, one of the leading figures in Hezbollah, and the other one in Tehran, where they assassinated the political bureau leader of Hamas, the martyr Ismail Haniyyah. So we had one attack in Beirut and one attack in Tehran. And I'm going to start off with that. These things are very symbolic. You're talking about a conflict that is widespread already. We've had that for a while. But the fact that Israel is assassinating figures outside of its territories prove time after time that you're talking about a reckless, child-murdering criminal state that knows no boundaries and that is on the loose, this criminal state. With regards to the assassinations, I'm going to start off with Hezbollah. Hezbollah, tomorrow we will be having a declaration. We will be having a speech from Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, in which I will be expecting him to declare certain actions against Israel that we haven't seen in the past 10 months. With regards to Hamas and with regards to Iran and with regards to Yemen, we've had attacks on all of them. We've had the Hudaydah attack. We haven't had the Yemeni response yet, the big response that we're anticipating. We have Hamas, their leader, the political bureau leader, and we have Iran. Iran, because the assassination was carried out in Tehran. In all of these assassinations, innocent people were killed, innocent children were killed. And Israel's barbarism in Gaza is continuing. Let no one ignore that fact. The misery of the people of Gaza has been going on for 10 months now. And that's the key thing in all of this, to end the misery of the Palestinian people in Gaza. However, this reckless state is expanding. We are expecting responses from 4 fronts. We are expecting a response from Hamas, with Iran, from Hezbollah, and from Yemen. Iran already declared that there will be a harsh response. And when they previously declared that they will respond directly, they have indeed, with an unprecedented attack. Now that attack was in Syria, in an Iranian consulate in Syria, where some of their IRGC commanders and leaders were killed. Now you have an attack in Tehran. Israel, they haven't claimed responsibility for the attack in Tehran, but they have for Lebanon. Everyone knows it was Israel who did it in Tehran. They didn't want to confirm that they were the ones who carried this out, and Benjamin Netanyahu ordered all of his cabinet members not to reveal any information. Not to reveal any information when it comes to Iran. Why? Because Iran acts within international law. So they will be declaring that they are responding, what's the basis for their response, and they will most likely rely on some sort of evidence when it comes to that response. We had people initially claiming that we had a drone attack in Iran. However, the scenes show that this was carried out by a very heavy, large missile because of the level of destruction that we saw in Iran. It could have been a missile from land-to-land missile. And again, we haven't had a lot of information about this, and it's pending investigation. With regards to Hezbollah, it was clearly an Israeli attack, but because they took responsibility, and we are awaiting attacks on Israel from 4 fronts. Why is Israel doing all of this? They're doing this for several reasons. Number one, they have no accomplishments in Gaza. They have no accomplishments in Gaza, and they're looking for something symbolic. They know very well, the people who carried out these assassinations, that these assassinations never worked, never have worked, and never will work. Why? Because when you talk about the resistance, you talk about an idea, you talk about faith, you talk about a just cause. Israel assassinated figures that were considered more senior then Fuad Shukr from Hezbollah, and Ismail Haniyyah from Hamas. They previously assassinated the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Sayyid Abbas Musawi, with his wife and child. And they also previously assassinated Sheikh Ahmad Yassin. In that attack, they also killed his children. And we heard reports that Ismail Haniyyah himself was wounded in that attack. They had targeted assassinations for close figures for Ismail Haniyyah. Over 100 members of his family were assassinated previously in constant attempts from Israel to apply pressure on Hamas. So Israel wants an image of victory that it cannot obtain and never will obtain. Because in Israel, you're talking about an ongoing war, and they haven't reached any of their objectives in Gaza. In Gaza, they declare that they want to eliminate the Hamas. They want to make Gaza not pose a threat to Israel, and they want their prisoners back. They haven't reached any of these goals, any of these declared objectives. All of these signal that we're looking at a massive failure. Israel failed and is still failing on every level. But again, when you're talking about Israel, you talk about a psychopathic, narcissistic, arrogant, supremacist, genocidal, neo-colonialist entity. And the level of psychopathy in Israel knows no boundaries. So to them, and you're talking about bloodthirsty people, people have a lot of bloodlust in Israel, and they love to see death and destruction and blood. However, they are completely blind. Why? Because every time we saw assassinations from senior figures in the resistance, we saw even fiercer leaders coming in. Ismail Haniyyah used to previously lead Hamas in Gaza. He was the elected prime minister after the elections in 2006. After Ismail Haniyyah, we had Yahya Sinwar. Yahya Sinwar is a person, and although we're talking about people with the same ideology and approach when it comes to Israel, but you're talking about a person who has more fierceness. He is the man who masterminded the Al-Aqsa flood on the 7th of October alongside MahmoodOD, the military leader of Izz-ad-Din al-Qassam Brigades, the armed wing of Hamas. So you're talking about a case where Israel assassinates people for their own bloodlust and for an image of victory, where in effect they raise generations upon generations of more and more people who want to end them. As a matter of fact, in the past 8 months, Israel recruited hundreds of millions of people globally who are dedicated to the Palestinian cause more than ever. And you're talking about people from different nationalities, from different backgrounds, from different religions. You're talking about Jewish people, Christian people, Muslims, atheists, people from all across the world, seeing Israel for exactly what it is, a criminal state that is committing a genocide and crimes against humanity. Not only that, they're not looking at what's present now, they're looking at the history, how Israel was brought up, and the fact that the Palestinian people have been suffering for over 76 years from this depravity and barbarism from this genocidal entity. So we're looking at a very sensitive time at the moment. We are anticipating something much bigger. Israel has been doing things that show that it's very keen on its own demise. What they've been doing is hastening their demise. They're not doing anything that gives them political, military or international objectives. You're talking about a state that is failing militarily, failing politically, failing on a societal level. We have divisions that are greater than ever in Israel, and its leaders and its population are talking about an existential threat. Millions of people fled Israel because they no longer believe in the concept of Zionism, of this racist ideology, and the ones who are in Israel are afraid. This was the state that sold itself as the safe haven for Jewish people, fooling people, brainwashing them, and indoctrinating them to believe that this is God's promised land, whereas as the actual thing that they were committing was a genocide against the indigenous people for neo-colonialist purposes supported by Western powers. And so long as the Western powers supporting this genocidal entity do not support it, they will be pushing for a larger war that will once and for all end Israel.